I'm ready.
Beautiful but dangerous. These new Imaginarium tanks that we find at Petco have this bowed center support, and it's really a big concern for me.
Bill, let me tell you, when I first noticed it, I got a couple tanks for one of our friends up north, and I sent them to him. He got them all painted up and then couldn't fill them up and use them. That's when I started digging into it a little bit more.
Yeah, and my fear is that if it looks like this on day one, what is it going to look like a year from now?
I don't think it'll be around a year from now, actually.
And that's a big concern.
Yeah, it is.
Hey everybody, I'm Bill Marino, Aqualust on YouTube, and this is Uncle Joe, Jody Reed from Uncle Joe's Fish Shed, and we're here to show you today the problems that we're finding with these Imaginarium tanks that we're seeing at Petco. What do you think, like, this to a new hobbyist? Like, this could be a real big problem.
I mean, this could be critical. If somebody gets a new tank, first off, it's just not going to work out well if it starts leaking for them.
Yeah, no, it's a big concern if you're new to the hobby and your first fish tank leaks. Are you going to stay in the hobby?
I mean, that can definitely turn you away from it, especially if you get into it and you do start with a bigger tank.
And my thing is that 99% of people start at a big box store when they're buying their first aquarium, and this is what they're going to start with. So I really think that it's really important that the first experience that you have with a tank is going to be a positive one.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I like Petco. I'm a big advocate. And these new Imaginarium tanks, I like them. I'd like to fill the whole entire fish room with them. And I started to get a few, and then I got to the ones where I needed the brace. Yeah. Like I said before, I got them for Bob.
Yeah. I mean, what we saw is that brand new, the brace is bowed to the inside of the tank. Like, it's not even supporting. And once we start filling the tanks, we're seeing them distort, and the brace not even really playing much of a role. It's not really bracing anything. And then, is it really giving you any structural support? The visual glass bowing, and we're going to get into that in a little bit and show everybody about that. But why the structural integrity is such a thing is that if this tank fails, it's more than that. You could be losing fish that costs a lot of money.
Damage.
You could be damage to your house, flooding the floor. If it's on the second floor, flooding what's below you.
I mean, this could even turn off a seasoned fish keeper.
Absolutely. I mean, aesthetically, beauty means nothing if it's not safe. And that's just my opinion. So, Jody, tell me what you think. Why do you think this is happening?
With some of the tanks, just to cut manufacturing costs.
Yeah.
They use thinner glass. It's cheaper to ship.
Well, you brought up to me that you're super happy with the packing material, how these tanks are coming delivered to the store is much better than they have been in the past.
They're absolutely beautiful. If they could put this little bit more effort into the tanks, they would be just phenomenal.
Yeah.
The packaging is great. They look like they're ready to be shipped overseas or on a semi-truck.
And I mean, I'll tell you, when I went out and bought my 40 breeder, I was going through the racks at Petco. Oh, this one's got a scratch, this, that. And then I got my tank home and I had a scratch on one of the surfaces. And it's really just from handling and really bad packing. I was able to turn it so it was the back of the tank, so it wasn't really an issue. But somebody that's not that seasoned isn't going to know to be really inspecting them that well. So it's important that they do come packed well, and it can be transported from the store to your house without damage.
Yeah, that's very true. And overall, these tanks are built really well. The glass appears to be thicker than on the 40 gallon, on the 60 gallon, and the 75 than the other brands. It seems to be a little bit more clear. Like we mentioned, the packaging is a lot better. But we're neglecting on the bracing a little bit. It seems to be a little bit thin.
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, the impact on the hobby would be people losing fish, facing huge expenses because of flooding in your house, and then just quitting the hobby entirely. And that's really my big stick point, is that I don't want people to get into it and have such a negative experience that just hate fish tanks and just think of that as such a negative experience. And while this is something that we all always have in the back of our mind and is our biggest fear is a tank leaking, there are things that we should be looking for. And there have been posts out on the internet, people showing the silicone's not that great, have been people complaining just like us about the bracing on the top, but really nobody's talking about it. And that's why we're here today. We want to bring this up and we want to air it out and see if it could be something that can be addressed.
Yeah, as far as I've seen a few things online too, and I've reached out to a couple different people. And we can get into that later a little bit.
I think that it's important for us to acknowledge that the aquariums themselves are beautiful. Jody had some footage he sent to me from some of the other manufacturers, how the tanks weren't square, big differences in the glass, like they're not squaring up the glass well. The assembly is really low quality, where the Imagitarium tanks look really nice. The glass they're using is really nice. They do look pretty.
Petco could be onto something here. They're set to be just two places really for people to go, unless you're going to order a custom-made, really expensive tank.
Yeah.
And if this is going to be their flagship brand, they need to address this situation.
And you know, funny, I was just talking to somebody about this, and he lived up in Ocala area, and really Petco was his only go-to for tanks. Nobody locally sold tanks. So unless you're going to go out online and buy a tank, it's probably going to be triple the expense to get some sort of tank from a private small manufacturer, rimless sort of tank, you know, something like that, low, you know, iron glass tank, something that is a higher end. You're going to pay more. But that's why we feel it's super important that this tank is of a high quality, or at least of a safety level that we can expect is going to last a good long time when used properly.
Yeah, 100%. I myself would be willing to pay a little bit more just to have
absolutely
a decent tank, and they could add a little bit of money to this tank, and I think it'd be well worth it for anyone looking to get tanks.
I mean, we brought this up in conversation, was that the bracing on this tank compared to their aquarium, which they sold before, this brace is so much thinner.
It's like a 10-gallon or a 20-gallon long, and it's on a 60 breeder.
Yeah, it's this tiny little brace. So I mean, I feel, and I think you would kind of agree, is that the brace needs to be thicker. But then you had brought up a really good point, why braces crack, because this is something that a lot of people in the hobby with large tanks experience, is the brace fails in the middle. And then you had brought up some good points about, you know, them heating and cooling.
Yeah, from what I know, and you know, I've been doing this a few years, but from what I've learned from people that have been doing it a lot longer than me, center braces just really didn't used to need to be a thing the way tanks were made. But they put them on there to hold the lights in the lid. Could you imagine taking a 125 and flipping over a 6-foot piece of glass?
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, the center braces, and we put the lights on top of them. And over time, they want to cut manufacturing costs, I suppose. And the light goes on and heats the tank. The light goes off and it cools.
So
off and on.
The expansion and contraction of that plastic over years.
And then the pressure from the tank decides finally to break.
Yep. So it's this one being significantly smaller may even fail sooner because it is so much smaller. It's going to be that much more stressed. And you know, that brings up another really good point that Jody brought up in conversation with me, which was you can't even buy a lid for these. We in the store. I went to the store. You went to the store. You had friends, right?
Yeah.
You had friends.
You can't. They didn't even have them online. I just a couple days ago, prior to this, just saw the first sets of lids that were in the stores.
No.
And none for the larger tanks that need braces.
Oh. I mean,
guess what?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anyways because they won't fit on there.
Well, yeah, the lid would actually show how much the tank is deforming. And we took some video that I'll drop in here showing how the tank wasn't square and how the tank's bowing. And this tank was probably shy 20 gallons. We filled it up even more. And we're seeing it, how the tank isn't square. And I'll show you how that brace is just totally bent even once the tank's loaded. So that brace is doing pretty much nothing. And we were talking to some manufacturers, plastic injection molding guys, they explained to you about, you know, a problem with that.
Yeah, so I even took a look at it afterwards and looked underneath. And one of the theories is when it was injected, they get injected, they're hot, and they're set down and they're stacked. One of my friends who works up north, and that's what they do, they inject plastic, asked me to look underneath the braces to see if there was any marks at all. He said they'd be very light for a spacer. So this could be what's happening. Another theory was maybe in the beginning what we thought right away, because the tanks were packaged so nice and they look so nice, and the 40 over there is just absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Is this a new design to combat the pressure on the brace for it to snap?
So not putting it under so much strain.
But the math doesn't math, and the tank shouldn't have to bow that much.
Yeah.
Besides that, they're all not bowed the same, as you'll see from the pictures and video we took in some of the stores.
Yeah. It's not consistent, the amount of deformity. So therefore, you know, please call me out, somebody, and tell me that I'm wrong, because I'm really not a fish tank engineer. But the reality is that it just doesn't add up that this brace is even doing anything. If anything, maybe just a little. So, you know, to the hobbyists, like, what do we suggest? I mean, definitely, I think a big thing is inspect the tank thoroughly before you purchase it. Go through, make sure all the glass in the corners are well put together, and looking at that brace, and maybe bring that brace up in that point. And what kind of warranty? Do you know what they're offering with these?
I don't. You know what? I don't even know.
So if somebody knows what kind of warranty that Imaginarium's offering, drop it in the comments below. I know Aquarium over a certain size tank was a lifetime tank. My brother-in-law has a turtle tank that developed a leak, and the pet store he bought it from actually went out of business. He went to another dealer, and the company, great service. And that, you've been on this topic for a while. You tried to contact them.
Yeah, I can't even get these returned.
Oh wow! What about getting somebody?
They're painted tanks. We took them out, left the packaging on, painted the backs, getting ready to put them in racks. Because we want to change the whole fish room over. Yeah. And these specific tanks were for somebody else's fish room. When you go and you look at them, and the lids just won't even stay.
Wow. But contact. How did you go about getting in touch with them? What was your experience?
So I went to multiple stores and got a couple phone numbers and took pictures, and the managers were great and let me look, and they just didn't seem really aware of it. So then I started calling corporate. I called the customer service line a couple times and worked on that, getting even a return or something. And I've sent them messages on Facebook. I don't know if that helps. I've posted pictures on their Facebook pages. I went to the Petco forums on Reddit. I had other managers reach out and say that they had issues. We can't verify if they're really managers or not, because
At the time of shooting, we did some homework, and we were looking for anything that we could find online with people complaints. I mean, other than people, pretty much a few things we found like us are people showing the pictures of the tank before they were filled, or we haven't had any confirmations of leaks and stuff like that. But common sense, being in the hobby as long as we have, common sense tells us when a tank is bowing and it's brand new, it's bound to fail. I mean, we saw this with Red Sea, and right?
That's drastic.
That was drastic. This was marine tanks that were dropping the front panel off. You would just come home one day, and your entire marine tank could be on the floor,
or leaking from two sides, like my neighbors.
Yeah. And I mean, even a small leak, like people say, like a 5-gallon tank is small. Take 5 gallons and throw it on the floor and tell me that's not a lot of water.
I tell you what, this floor fully wet is only a few gallons.
So a little water make a big mess. Yeah, and you're on a ground floor. This is all tile, so that's easy to clean up. So I mean, imagine having a tank that sprung a leak and you're on a second floor apartment. Now you got a big problem on your hands.
Yeah, hopefully they can get ahead of this now and nip this in the butt before something bad does happen.
Yeah,
we have a tank out there sitting on the ground that has fish in it because they can't go in a rack. I want to address it. We're using it for this. I have another one sitting in here.
Yeah, there's another tank on the ground over there.
It looks just great, but they can't be put up.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely, I think that don't ignore any red flags on when you're looking at a tank for design. Like the brace isn't there, and maybe considering spending a few more dollars on another brand tank that has a better reputation. Then really, we're just hoping that Petco Imaginarium really just steps up and addresses this problem, because they are beautiful tanks. I mean, the look of the tank is great. The glass is great. The packaging is great. It's really just, they got to put the correct bracing in for the size of the tank.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Well, the takeaway that I have is that it is a beautiful tank, but if it's destined to fail, what is it worth? So in the end, if we're about to burst about this, and the tank's about to burst too, where are we going to go with this? So really what I want everybody to do is drop a comment in below that you want Petco to straighten this out. Some of you will be, this is your only pet store where you can get equipment. And if you're like me, sometimes, it's just a little expensive to spend $600 on a fish tank. And, you just want to buy something of a good quality. But like you said, I'd be more than willing to happy to spend a couple of bucks to know I had a lifetime warranty and that the tank looked good when it was new.
Yeah, they could just do a little bit of work to this and make this a premium tank.
Yeah.
I just don't want anybody to think I'm bashing Petco. I love Petco.
No,
I shop at Petco.
Yeah, I shop Petco. I have more than just fish. I buy my dog food there. I've tried other places that had cheap dog food, and the dog food had been sitting around and been stale. So I appreciate, I appreciate that they're right. that they're right on the supply chain. That, they're moving the product, and so, and a great topic we'll get into in the future is buying fish from Petco and big box stores, because a lot of people, that's their only option.
It isn't. Big box stores will give some of the other ones bad raps because it's a lot of it's up to the managers and the staff.
Absolutely.
I actually will point this out in one of the videos where they were kind enough to let me open up tanks.
Wow.
To show this to Petco, because they didn't really know what they were going to say either.
Yeah.
And the difference in the stores is crazy.
Yeah, and we applaud the Petco employees that helped us out along the way.
Thank you.
By all means, that we understand they're just doing their job. It's not their decision to make to keep the tank on the floor and sell it or not. And we're not asking anybody to step beyond their roles. We just want the company to address the obvious problem that is in front of us, and what are they going to do to correct this going forward? Because especially somebody like you, who already owns a few of these tanks, really the only option they've given you was return. But the reality is I'm trying to buy some fish tanks to set up a fish room, and I want to get a higher quality than the other brands that are out there.
Yeah, hopefully you guys, Petco, come change these tanks out for me. They're already painted. It's not my fault.
Yeah, and I mean, you paint them or not, it should have a warranty of a quality of workmanship.
Yeah.
And it's not like you don't set them up. And I mean, I think that is a great segue into our next video, which is going to be the basics of setting up a fish tank. What do you absolutely need in bare bones basics, and the importance of stands for your tank.
Oh my God, fish, right?
And-
fish? We got to talk about the fish?
We got to talk about fish too.
I suppose we got to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Remember, join your local fish clubs.
Absolutely.